Let me ask you something first. This morning, what was the first thing you did when you woke up? If the answer was opening your phone, you're not alone. And honestly, that's not just a bad habit. It's a symptom of something much more serious than you think. Because research shows that the generation that grew up with smartphones is experiencing real biological changes in the brains of people who have grown up with smartphones. Not metaphorical, not exaggerated. Biological. Permanent. Like a muscle that has grown wrong. And what gives me the creeps is most of us don't even realize when the process starts. So in this video, I want to break down 3 things. First, why your brain gets into this state. Second, what's actually happening inside your head every time you scroll. And third, there's a simple protocol that, if you commit to it for 30 days, your brain can start to heal. But before that, you have to listen to this first. There was a period of time that slowly changed the way the human brain works en masse. Between 2010 and 2018, social media companies began introducing something we're all very familiar with by now: the feed. And within that feed, there are likes, there are comments, there are notifications. It seems trivial, but all those small interactions, every time you tap like, every time you read a comment, send signals to the algorithm about what you'll consume next. And the algorithm learns faster than you think. This is what researchers call the Great Rewiring. Now, let me ask you to imagine 2 different childhoods. First childhood. You go outside, play with friends, fall, get back up. No one is watching. No one is judging. You find fun ways to play on your own. Your brain goes into what's called discovery mode, exploration mode, trial and error mode, fear of failure mode. Second childhood. You've had your phone since you were a kid. Entertainment is readily available. The algorithm has already chosen content for you. You don't need to explore because everything comes naturally. And every time you post something, you wait. How many likes? How many comments? Will anyone judge? The brain in that second childhood doesn't grow in discovery mode. It grows in defense mode. Defensive mode is simply this. Your brain is always on high alert for its social environment. You scroll. You see your friend on vacation in Europe. Your brain immediately processes, "I haven't been there yet." You see people your age already running businesses. Your brain immediately calculates, "I'm behind." You see content from people whose lives seem perfect, and your brain, which should be resting, is busy comparing. This isn't your fault. It's by design. And this is what's shaping a generation whose brains have been trained to be reactive. Not creative, reactive. A big difference. A reactive brain has a very hard time focusing on one thing for a long time. Because it's accustomed to the world moving every 3 seconds, every 3 seconds there's something new. Every 3 seconds there has to be stimulation. And if there isn't, it feels like something's wrong. That's why you sit down to work and suddenly your hand is on your phone before your brain has a chance to decide what to do. It's not a character flaw, it's a conditioned neurological response. But this is just the beginning. There's a book that discusses this in detail. It's called The Anxious Generation. And it mentions at least 4 things that have begun to break down in the generation that grew up with smartphones. First, social deprivation. Our ability to read body language is declining. We increasingly socialize through chat, DMs, and emoji reactions. And as a result, when we meet new people in person, there's a kind of awkwardness that didn't exist before. Our brains aren't trained to read social situations in real time. Second, sleep deprivation. I'm sure many of you are watching this from bed, and I'm sure you've also been scrolling through your mind at night until it's 2 a.m. Sleep deprivation directly attacks your ability to focus the next day. It's not just drowsiness, but the brain's ability to process and retain new information decreases drastically. Third, attention fragmentation. This is the most insidious, the most silently damaging. Because social media teaches your brain that normal means something changes every 3 seconds, and when you try to sit down to read a book, write a report, or work on one thing for 30 minutes, your brain protests. It demands something faster, more instant, more stimulating. Focus isn't lost, but its threshold has shifted. Fourth, fake dopamine. This is the hardest one to talk about because everyone feels it, but few want to admit it. Every time you scroll down and there's new content, that's dopamine. Every time you refresh and there's a new notification, that's dopamine. Small, but fast. And your brain becomes addicted to that instant dopamine hit. The result? Activities with slow results, like studying, working hard, building skills, feel neurologically boring. Not because you're lazy, but because the feedback loop is too slow for a brain accustomed to instant gratification. And this explains why so many people are now more interested in short-term trading, crypto, and things that seem to yield quick results than building something consistently over the long term. Okay, now for the most important question. If it's this bad, can it still be fixed? The answer is yes, but not with one viral tip you follow for 3 days and then forget. The first and most fundamental is what's called dopamine fasting. Specifically, for the first 60 to 120 minutes of every morning, don't touch your phone at all. Fill that time with activities that produce slow results and don't involve instant stimulation. Reading a book, writing, exercising, meditating. The goal isn't to be more productive in the morning. The goal is to give your brain a chance to re-enter discovery mode. Let it learn that silence is safe, that boredom isn't an emergency. Next, create a phone-free zone. One place in your house that's free from your phone, and the most logical place to start is your bedroom. If that's too extreme, at least have phone-free time, a specific block of time during the day where you don't check notifications at all. And one more thing that's often overlooked but has a big impact. Once a week, try taking a real risk. Not digital risks. Risks that exist in the physical world. Meeting new people, presenting to clients you're afraid of, learning a difficult new skill. This is to retrain your social muscles and tolerance for uncertainty. But I know what you're thinking right now. I've heard tips like this before. I try it, get excited for 2 days, then fall back into my old habits. And it's valid. That's what happens to most people. Not because they're weak, but because they don't have a protocol. This is the difference between tips and protocols. Tips are suggestions. Protocols are systems. I have one called Habit 30, and its structure is simple. Start small. If your brain protests every time you try to start, tell yourself, just 30 seconds. That's enough to make sure you start. And once you start, you can usually keep going. Do at least 30 minutes. Not 2 hours the first day and then skip a week. A consistent 30 minutes is far more powerful than a marathon that will make you give up. Do it for 30 days. And one hard rule, don't skip 2 days in a row. Because once you skip 2 days, inertia kicks in, and it's much harder to start over. 30 seconds, 30 minutes, 30 days. The structure is that simple. I want to leave you with one idea. The most dangerous person in the room, not the smartest, not the richest, but the most focused. The one who isn't easily distracted. The one who doesn't need external validation to keep going. And people like that are becoming rare. Not because they're special by birth, but because they've chosen to rebuild something we've all slowly lost. The ability to stay with one thing for a long time without anyone applauding. If you want to try it, start tomorrow morning. 60 minutes, no phones. See the difference for yourself. I'm here if you want to discuss it further. Like, if this was helpful, comment on your experience below and subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next video.